Greetings, I'm the man I am, and this is me learning out loud. I created this, category within my YouTube channel because I go on YouTube, not a lot, but I go on there enough to where I see videos that I like or would like to watch, but I don't have the time to do it. So I just save them for later. So I put them in my save for later playlist, and fast forward, now I have like 200, 300 videos that I do want to watch because I went through them and I seen some of the titles, some of the things, and I do want to watch them, but it's finding time to actually watch them. So I decided that if I create a reaction video to me watching it, I am getting rid of the I'm busy complaint or I'm busy excuse that I come up with. And I'm forcing myself or putting myself, I guess I am forcing myself to watch these videos that I actually want to watch, but I claim I don't have time to. And for this one, I am interested in what this speaker has to say about the mind beyond the brain. And I'm thinking that when he says mind in this, he's talking about consciousness, because mind and brain are usually associated, but it's a word consciousness, you can say, the consciousness that lives beyond the brain. So for me, I know there's a lot of debate. There has always been questions or debate about whether the brain and the consciousness, or I guess the mind, are all the same, but they all just live in this one area. From my own studies, from my own experiences, I believe that the brain is perfectly constructed to operate the body, but it needs a controller. And the controller, or the consciousness that has access to the brain and can use the brain's ability to work the body, is our consciousness. So I believe that our consciousness is not the brain. Our consciousness is using the brain as a tool to operate the body to exist and function within this reality. And a lot of things I would take a stand on, but one thing I learned on my journey is I have to always remain open-minded. So I like studying, I like hearing other people's viewpoint, other people's opinion, because facts or the correct information may actually sway me to a different belief. So for this one, I'm just trying to see whether this will, I guess, support my current belief or make me think differently about what I currently think. And with that, let's start.
I think that the idea that it's all in the brain is an unnecessary limitation. Materialist thinking about the brain is extraordinarily local. It localizes all these things actually inside the head. But within the sciences, since the 19th century, we now have a much broader view of matter and the way that nature is organized. And this is broadened through the concept of fields, first introduced into science by Michael Faraday in relation to electric and magnetic fields, then through Einstein's general theory of relativity, taken to include the gravitational field. And there are many fields in science now. Fields are defined as regions of influence. They're usually invisible. The gravitational field of the Earth is in the Earth, but extends far beyond it. The reason we're not floating in the air at the moment is because it's holding us down to the ground. It's invisible. This room is full of it, but we can't see it. It holds the moon in its orbit. It stretches far beyond the Earth. The gravitational field of the moon affects the tides on the Earth. So these are invisible fields with enormous effects at a distance, even though you can't see them. Electrical and magnetic fields also stretch out beyond physical objects. A magnetic field stretches out far beyond the magnet. You can reveal its lines of force through sprinkling iron filings around it, but the field itself is invisible. And the electromagnetic fields of your mobile telephone are within the mobile telephone, but stretch invisibly beyond it. This room is full of radio transmissions from mobile phones, from radio and television programs. The world is full of invisible fields. This is a revelation of 19th and 20th century science, which I don't think has been taken on board by people thinking about materialist theories of the brain. And what I'd like to suggest is that our fields of our minds stretch out far beyond our bodies. They stretch out invisibly, and our consciousness is related to and based on these fields. That if we're going to solve the hard problem, taking into account fields of the mind may be a very important ingredient, as well as studying processes within the brain.
Okay, this is very interesting. So this is definitely supporting my belief. Because he started off with addressing the invisible fields that's around us, right? Like there's no debate about that. They are. And what he hasn't touched on, which he may touch on now as he got up on the screen, is our own personal fields. We know that we have our own electromagnetic field in itself. And I know in spirituality, you are taught or you'll learn about auras and chakras and vibrations and frequencies. And even when it comes to consciousness, you learn that there's several levels of consciousness. So, and consciousness being several levels of awareness. Just because you are aware of something now doesn't mean it's not more in-depth meaning to that you can also learn building on what you also know now, which is why it's always good to continue to evolve your consciousness. Even in this drawing, it shows that how the consciousness isn't centralized. It's not just stuck in the brain. Like we can communicate. We have frequencies. We have waves of thinking. These things are actually interacting, even if it's just an invisible oval energy field that makes you up. If someone comes into your energy field, y'all are now sharing energy, right? You know what I'm saying? Your energy field just doesn't disappear. It's still there. Like you have your phone against your ear. This thing has its own electromagnetic field. It's within your electromagnetic field as well. So it's not like your electromagnetic field somehow disappears. No, these things are living within our energy. We are actually touching, embracing, feeling other energetic things. We're just not aware of it because we can't see it. It's invisible. So far I'm liking this.
The easiest way to see what I'm talking about is indeed through vision. What's going on when you see something? Well, everybody knows that light comes into the eyes. Ever since Johann Kepler in 1604 worked out that there were inverted images on the retina, we know that the lens focuses the light in each eye. You have a small...
Hello, I'm sorry. I want to go back and get that name.
Eyes, ever since Johann Kepler in 1604. Worked out that there were inverted images on the retina, we know that the lens focuses the light in each eye. You have a small inverted image on your retina. Changes happen in the cone cells and the rod cells. Impulses travel up the optic nerve. Changes happen in various regions of the brain. All this has been mapped and scanned in greater detail than ever before. But the mysterious part is then what happens next. How do you create images, three-dimensional, full-color images? They're all supposed to be inside your head, representations of the outer world. So I can see you sitting there, you can see me here, but all of you are supposed to be inside my head, as lots of faces and the whole of this room is meant to be. And inside your head is supposed to be a little Rupert somewhere inside your brain. That's not what we actually experience. What we actually experience is that our images are out there. Your image of me, I'm imagining, is where I'm actually standing right now, and my image of you is where you are. So this one-way theory of vision, which we've all grown up with, which comes from Kepler, the intromission theory of vision, sending in intromission, is taken to be the standard scientific view. But there's another and older theory of vision, the extramission theory, that says not only does light come in, but the images we see are projected out. So my images of you are where they seem to be. They're in my mind, they're in my consciousness, but they're not inside my head. They're where you're sitting. Now, this idea is familiar to the ancient Greeks. It's familiar to people all over the world. The developmental psychologist Jean Piaget showed that young European children, in his book The Child's Conception of the World, think that they're projecting out images, that they take it for granted. So this is, in fact, a very deep-seated way of thinking about vision. And Euclid, the great geometer, used it to explain, in the first really clear way, how mirrors work. What happens when you look at something in a mirror is the light is reflected from the mirror. The angle of incidence, the angle of reflection are the same. But what happens then is you project out the images, which go straight through the mirror, being virtual, mental projections, and you see virtual images behind the mirror. And Euclid's theory is still there in school textbooks to explain mirrors. All of you, no doubt, have seen these diagrams. They involve little dotted lines behind the mirror that go to what's called a virtual image behind the mirror, a projection of the mind behind the mirror. And so this extramission, a sending out theory of vision, is actually taught to all school children, even though within most of science it's regarded as a total heresy. Intromission is the only permissible theory in biology and psychology, whereas in optics, which comes under physics, extramission is the standard theory. And no wonder it's confusing. People are taught two completely different theories of vision. At Ohio State University, Gerald Weiner, who's a professor of psychology, was shocked to find that most adults and children he interviewed believed in visual extramission, something going out of the eyes. Even his own psychology undergraduates believed it. So he called this a fundamental misunderstanding of visual perception, and he decided to re-educate them. And he and his colleagues told them forcefully over and over again, nothing goes out of the eyes when you look at something. And after repeated drilling with this into the students, when they were tested immediately after this denial of extramission teaching, they gave the correct answers. But when they tested them 3 to 5 months later, almost all of them had reverted to their previous views. They were dismayed at this failure of scientific education. Much more recently, in fact, just in the last few years, Arvid Gutterstam, working first at Princeton University, now at the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, has shown that by some very ingenious experiments that people attribute a gentle force to the gaze as it goes out of the eyes. And they've even shown, using fMRI, that regions of the brain involved in tracking movement are activated. And as he puts it, the results, this is a quote, strongly suggest that when people view a face looking at an object, the brain treats that gaze as if a movement were present, passing from the face to the object. And they found that this occurred even in people who didn't believe in visual extramission. It's deep, hardwired in the way we see. And they tried to explain this by saying there must be an evolutionary reason for it, that it's important to track people's gaze in social situations, and this leads to the illusion that something's going out of the eyes when you look at things. It would make much better sense in evolutionary terms if it's not an illusion, but if it's real. And so is it real? Well, you're not meant to think it's real because that goes against the dogma that the mind is nothing but the activity of the brain and the perceptions are inside the head. But is it testable? Well, I think it is. If, when I look at you as a projection from my mind that touches you, my mind in a sense reaches out to touch you, if I look at you from behind and you don't know I'm there, could you feel that I'm looking at you? Well, as soon as you ask that question, you realize that the sense of being stared at is very common.
This is wild. This is so wild to me. Because I am a visual person, also a visual thinker. It's somewhat innate to some degree. I don't be trying to do it, but sometimes even when I'm just listening to people or someone's talking to me, I envision the things that they're saying. Even though I'm looking directly at them, I'm seeing it's like a play-by-play happening in my mind. And how is this, from what he's saying, is that everything's is not just an illusion, correct? That these things could actually be real. Because my dilemma would be, if I'm looking at you, right? If I'm looking at you and science says that technically you don't exist and everything we're technically looking at, we are recreating in our mind. But if I'm looking at you and I'm also envisioning other things while looking at you, then I have to consider you real because the vision in my head are being created by me at that time, right? Let me see what else.
It's now called scopaesthesia, the scientific name for it. Scop as in microscope, seeing, aesthesia, feeling, as in synesthesia, anesthesia. Scopaesthesia is extremely common. Most people have experienced it. I'm sure most people in this room have experienced it. You turn around, you find some.
Oh yeah, so I definitely experienced that. That's why I really stopped. But I was trying to catch up he said a lot of stuff, and I'm gonna have to go and research even more after this. But yeah, I definitely feel that. And I like someone's watching you, you turn and they are actually watching you. Like you can feel the sense that you're being looked at or stared at. And if you experience that, you also confirm that as well. And I know you have. Like you just have.
Someone's looking at you, or you stare at someone and they turn around and look back. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's very common. Most people have experienced it, including most children. It's usually directional. You turn and look straight at the person. You don't just feel uneasy and search around. I have a recent paper on directional scopaesthesia showing that on the basis of 960 case studies, the direction.
That is crazy. I never thought about it like that. That is so wild. That is true. Like the times I feel like I'm being watched or someone's looking at me, it's like I know exactly the direction to look. I never thought about that. I do. I know the exact, because I could look up, I could look down, I could look left, right, could look all these other places, but wherever I feel that I'm being stared at or looked at, I go directly there. That is wild. That is crazy.
Personality is just a basic feature of this and the way people experience it. I've investigated the natural history. We've interviewed, we've dealt with through questionnaires. We found it typically happens most powerfully with strangers, often with male strangers in situations that could be vaguely threatening. We've done interviews with more than 50 surveillance officers, celebrity photographers, and private detectives, practically all of whom just take this for granted. If you've ever trained to be a private detective, and I'm guessing that most of you haven't, you will have learned that when you're following someone, shadowing somebody, you don't stare at their back, because if you do, they'll turn around, catch your eyes, and your cover's blown. You have to look at them a little bit, otherwise you lose them, but you look at their feet. So among practical people, these things are completely taken for granted. In the martial arts, it's taken for granted, and they have methods of training people to become more sensitive. Because if you can feel when someone's approaching from behind who might attack you, you'll survive better than if you didn't feel it. They train this ability, people get better at it. Well, many experiments have already been done on the sense of being stared at. They've been done in at least 37 different schools and colleges. They've been replicated in many parts of the world. The statistical significance is astronomical. At the Nemo Science Museum in Amsterdam, an experiment on the sense of being stared at was running for more than 20 years. More than 20,000 people took part. It was called Have You Got Eyes in the Back of Your Head? And people had to guess whether they were being looked at or not in a randomized sequence of trials. The results were astronomically significant statistically. I mean, I didn't run this experiment myself. It was run by the Dutch Museum. The results were analyzed by Dutch statisticians, and it showed a massively significant effect. The most sensitive subjects, incidentally, were children under the age of 9. So here we have something which is extremely well known. It's well known all over the world. The scientific evidence suggests it really happens. The scientific teaching of how mirrors work assumes that there's an extramission of influences. It seems to be deeply seated in biology. It happens with animals. Animals can tell when they're being looked at, and people can tell when animals are looking at them. So here we have a very, very well-known phenomenon, very deep-seated biologically. Many different species of animals have shown this ability. I think it's evolved in the context of predator-prey relationships. A prey animal that could tell when a predator was looking at it, a hidden predator was looking at it, would survive better than one that didn't. And I think it has enormous implications for our understanding of the mind.
So is he saying that this is like our own innate fight or flight sense that we have? Like, I mean, usually if someone's looking at you and you feel it, it's not like a warranted, it's not like a wanted feeling. You know what I'm saying? Like, so maybe you're sensing something's off, something's odd, and it's making you want to locate the danger or locate the potential, the person who's actually looking at you.
Because if our minds are not just about what happens in brains, and if our conscious experience is extended through electromagnetic fields, which is what light is, it suggests that minds have an interface with electromagnetism. We know they do in the brain. A lot of brain activity that correlates with consciousness is electromagnetic activity. There seems to be an interface between electromagnetism and consciousness, and why it should be confined to the inside of the head is a purely arbitrary assumption. It comes from René Descartes originally, I suppose, or from the ancient Greek materialists, but Descartes made a division between extended things, res extensa, matter, is extended in space, whereas mind, res cogitans, was not extended in space. It was defined by being unextended. So the idea was the mind was unextended but interacted with the brain somewhere inside the head. So I'm suggesting that actually when we let go of that assumption, which has been so limiting for so long, we can broaden our view of the mind and go further than we've gone so far in a way that will help solve the real problems leading towards the hard problem. Finally, I just want to say that I think the extended mind doesn't just extend out into the world, it extends throughout the body. When someone has, say, a phantom limb after an amputation, I think that that phantom limb is part of the extended mind, and people feel the limb to be really there. And I think what they're doing is projecting that image of the limb and feeling it from within as to where the limb actually is. The official view is it's all inside the brain, but I don't think it is. And so I think once we liberate the mind from the brain more generally and consciousness from the brain more particularly, we have a much wider context for discussing this knotty problem, the hard problem of the relation between mind and brain.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with him on that one. And I love this video because he's pretty much just breaking down the science behind all of this stuff. But Everything he's explaining has been explained to me on my spiritual journey. Um, because like what we was just alluding to, your own electromagnetic field, your chakras, all these things are in place. So whether you do lose a limb or not, it's not like you lost that physical part of your body. That energetic part is still there. Like that energy is still exists. Just because you lost some of that energy, the physical makeup, the physical matter of that energy doesn't mean that that energy went away. Once they, like they say in science, like energy cannot be destroyed. So it can be, um, can be destroyed.
When we take into account the extended mind, instead of just arbitrarily confining it to the inside of the head, we're much more likely to make progress in understanding how minds are related to our bodies and to the physical fields through which we see and through which we have our experiences. Thank you. Thank you for watching this video produced by After School. I'm Rupert Sheldrake. If you want to learn more about my work, you can go to my website, sheldrake.org.
Okay, that's what's up. Yeah, I think I don't know when I'll get to it, but I'll try to get to some of your other teachings. But yeah, so I wanted to, so this one definitely buffers my original thoughts, my original thinking. That the brain is just a tool, just like the body is a tool. The brain is used for the consciousness to operate the body. And the consciousness, the mind, is more than just the brain. There's other energetic things going on around us, around it. That was good. I'm proud of myself. I made it through a video, and now I just got 200 and some more to go. All right. I am the man that I am. Thank you for, I guess, tuning in if you did. I'm out.